Hey, what is up everybody? Sierra here, back for another great trophy review video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about A Plague Tale Requiem, which is a sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence. And if you guys are brand new to my channel, be sure to like, subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. And if you just subscribe, welcome to the Red TV community. But anyway, this game was made by Focus Entertainment and Asabo Studio. It was released in October 2022 for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Windows, and of course the Nintendo Switch. The game takes place 6 months after the events of A Plague Tale Innocence. So basically, the game is all about saving Hugo from the disease. So in the game, Hugo is dying from his blood disease. They discover that he's dying slowly, and your main goal is to travel to an island that Hugo dreams about, and your main goal is to travel to that island and find a cure for his blood disease and stuff. But I'm not going to spoil it from here, guys. But do be aware, while watching this video, there are some spoilers and stuff like that. So be aware of that as well. But anyway, guys, grab a drink, sit at your favorite spot, and get your controller ready, because we have a lot to talk about in today's video. So one of the new features in the game is the difficulties. You can play hard difficulty and all that stuff, but I went with the straight up narrative story where I can have full exploration and the story as well. But anyway, starting off in chapter 1, you play hide and seek and stuff. Amicia, Lucas, and Hugo are playing around and stuff, and then you start off before this part right here, you play at an abandoned castle, thinking that Hugo is the king, pretending that Hugo is king and stuff like that. After that, Lucas leaves and goes to do some more training with their mother, and Hugo and Amicia go to the river, and they pretend like these pine cones are ships coming at them. And this is one of the segments where you can get a trophy from. So what you got to do is you got to shoot all these pine cones. Be sure to aim really well on this part, because if you miss or if you're too slow, then you will miss this trophy, and you'll have to wait until after the game's over or restart the whole entire chapter. But anyway, right after I ended up getting all of the pine cones and stuff, took me a few attempts to get it right, but I eventually got the trophy for it. And this little boy that you meet here, he ends up throwing a rock and stuff like that, and that's how you get the trophy called Perfect Shot, is by getting all of the pine cones and stuff like that. So right after that, that's basically what you do. So the next part is you travel to this abandoned castle. You and Hugo travel to it and play around and stuff like that, thinking that pretending that Hugo's king and everything, and they make their way upstairs and everything, and then all of a sudden they crash through the floor and everything. Hugo says, I think we should leave now, and Amicia agrees. So they make their way out of the castle. They find a way out and stuff like that. And then later, a few minutes later, they discover that there's something going on, like there's these beehives that are being burnt and stuff like that, and then there's these enemies killing innocent people. So Amicia, she wants to do is leave and stuff, but they won't let her go. So they end up running, and her and Hugo has to sneak past these guys and stuff, or else they will end up getting killed. So My advice to you guys is you need to be stealthy during this segment because believe me, they will kill you instantly, and that's never a good thing. But after I made my way at the end of the level, there's these two guys abusing the little boy you meet at the river, and they try to kill him and stuff. I don't know if that's their brothers or something, but I really don't know. So anyway, they start hurting Amicia, and they end up hitting Hugo and stuff. But then off the camera, Amicia ends up killing them both and stuff. And that's where the whole next part comes into place. You end up making your way onto the cart where Beatrice, Lucas, Hugo, and Amicia is on. And then they end up making it to a gate where these guys are looking for the person who killed these two guys, those two guys and stuff. And they end up finding Hugo in the back, and they end up dragging Amicia off the cart, and Beatrice and the others make a run for it. And then you got to make your way past these guys and everything. So that's what literally happens on this part. So what happens is right on this part, on these parts and everything, I ended up killing as many of these guys as I could, and then after making my way at the end and stuff, I ended up saving Beatrice. I don't exactly know how in the world I got that shot in because my analog stick at the time was acting up and stuff, so I had to, uh, get the best hit as I could, and that was the weirdest part. But throughout the game, you notice that there's a change in Amicia. Her hands start shaking. She has, nervous breakdowns sometimes, and, a lot of things happen in the game. But at the end, I ended up completing Chapter 1. This next part right here, I ended up wanting to show you guys. I wanted to add this into the video, but anyway, this is your crafting section. You guys know what that is for the tools and everything if you decide to do that. Your skills right here, there are 3 different skills that you got to work on throughout the game. One is called Prudence, which has to do with your sneakiness or stealth. Aggressive means combat, and opportunism is your alchemist. So you got to perform different actions in order to get the meter all the way to the right, and when you do, you get the trophies for them. But you won't get all 3 of them in your first playthrough. It took one playthrough, and then it took an additional 4 chapters in New Game Plus, and then I had the game done. But anyway, that's pretty much what you do. And then the upgrade menu, you won't be able to access it until Chapter 3, but that's pretty much how you upgrade your stuff and everything. You got to collect a certain amount of materials in order to upgrade your stuff, so be sure to save your materials to the end. Last but not least is your codex, which shows the collection that you get in the game, your souvenirs, and you also got to collect certain flowers and feathers in the game, and then discover souvenirs and stuff. For example, right here in this part, in Chapter 2, there's a carnival that you head to in a new area that you end up in. And then there's this like carnival that you gotta play in order to get one of the souvenirs. So in order to get the one called Best Player, you gotta hit these boxes and stuff. So what you gotta do is you throw these vases at the bottom of these right here. So you gotta be sure to aim pretty carefully and knock the boxes over. You don't have to knock over every single left and right and everything, but just aim for the bottom, and then you'll get the souvenir called Best Player. So that's what happens. So anyway, afterwards you look around a little bit, and then you make your way to the top of the hill where Lucas is waiting for you, and then you just you talk a little bit to Lucas and stuff, and then you look at this area and stuff that they say it's their home and everything. Then Lucas takes you to the door where your new home is and everything. But then um, Hugo is, not feeling well. Beatrice tells Amicia to go look for this guy right here, a doctor. And then he examines Hugo and stuff like that, and he doesn't know what's going on and everything. And that's the end of the second chapter of the game as well. And then I get a trophy for that, for completing it. Third chapter is where you can access your upgrades and access to your first chest where you can get the materials. In the third chapter, there was this fight that you have to do in this like one area, and there's a lot of enemies you gotta kill. Well, maybe not a lot of enemies, but you do have to kill enemies here. But anyway, there's this big guy right here I had to defeat, and he was holding a shield, and trying to get a good aim on him and stuff was pretty hard. So I had to use my quick wits and use some kind of distraction to get him and stuff. And then a knight took me by the throat and put me and Lucas in a cage. And then Lucas introduced me to a brand new interaction where with him I can push a triangle button, and anytime in front of like a torch or one of those, I forget what you call them, but anyway, you can activate some kind of stupefaction or fascination or whatever it's called, and it can distract enemies. One of the biggest things I had to do, I had to go literally right over a building, and a few times in the game, and I gotta be honest, I was kind of frightened. And so I was actually glad about that, getting that part over with. Then the next part, I had to have Lucas turn a switch for me while I shot down a catapult, and then me and him had to push the catapult to the front of the door, and there were some enemies outside, and so we had to literally make our way outside, make our way back to Beatrice and them and stuff like that, and they and Amicia and Lucas just ends up making their way back home and stuff, and they were told that Hugo is unfortunately dying from his blood disease, which is pretty hard and stuff. I really didn't understand why, but it kind of shocked me a little bit that Hugo ends up, they just say, well, he's just straight up dying, and I don't know, it's crazy. But anyway, right afterwards, I ended up completing chapter 3 and stuff. So yeah, chapter 4. You end up at this area, and I ended up getting 2 trophies a little bit into chapter 4. One was crafting 100 alchemist tools, and I got the trophy alchemist. And then the second trophy was called mercy. So what you gotta do is you gotta shoot the ignifer right on the sky, and he was helping you out, trying to get through and everything, but then he said, no, I'm not going to let you come through and everything, and he was going to kill me, but I hit an ignifer on him, and I let him be, because if I killed him, then I wouldn't have gotten a trophy. And then later on, I met Beatrice at this ship and everything, and we all just ended up getting in it. And this guy, I think his name is Jason, says, let's go and all that stuff. And then for some reason, Beatrice is starting to lose trust in Amicia, and Amicia is starting not to trust her mom as well. I think that Beatrice is keeping a secret from Amicia or something like that, but at the end, I got the trophy for completing Chapter 4. Next part is where I have to literally defend the ship and everything from these enemies that are literally showing up out of nowhere, and you got to use the turret on Jason's boat and stuff like that. I don't know if his name is Jason or not. Just let me know, you guys, in the comments what his name is. But if I'm right, then let me know. But anyway, there's these guys coming up out of nowhere shooting crossbows at me, trying to hit me and stuff like that. And there's even a few occasions where I use like ignifer bolts, and then I take them down and everything. Then the guy of the ship ends up getting killed by a arrow to the neck, and then we end up abandoning Beatrice and them. Me and Hugo ends up just abandoning them and going our own way. And then right after that, got the trophy for completing Chapter 5. Chapter 5. There was even some good moments in the game. Like, number one, you come up upon a swing in Chapter 6, and Hugo ends up pushing you and stuff. And Amicia ends up getting really hurt, and she ends up passing out at one point in the game. And she ends up not feeling well. Many of you guys probably know this already, but yeah, she ends up passing out from her injuries and stuff, and Hugo has to rely on control the rats to save them. So Hugo takes control of the rats. He discovers that he can control them in their mind, and the rats can actually climb up a net in order to access these in order to access the enemies and stuff. They can climb stairs. They can climb these nets on the sides and everything, but they cannot climb walls or. I kind of wish that they can jump and stuff, but they actually can't. But anyway, after defeating the enemies, Amicia gets back up, regains consciousness, and then regains her strength and stuff. And then right afterwards, Amicia starts getting a little weak and stuff, and she ends up going down for a minute, and then Hugo discovers that there's this guy that ends up coming up by him, and his name ends up being Aldern or Auburn, or I don't know, guys. I always forget the names of characters. And also completed the chapter after that under the record. I forgot to mention that. But anyway, I was on the beach in the next chapter, and I could not get over how beautiful these environments are. The water looks absolutely amazing. I love the way that the studios and stuff like that made this as beautiful as they did in this game. But anyway, I ended up getting a another skill. I ended up getting my last skill my first skill done, and then I ended up getting a trophy for fully upgrading my sling. So that was one of them that I needed to get done and stuff like that. And then later on in the chapter, I met Sophia, and I really do like her. She was absolutely funny in the game. especially with Hugo and stuff. Her speech, sometimes her dialogue was pretty funny and stuff, but yeah, she ended up being one of my favorite characters. She kind of reminded me of Chloe from Uncharted. That real, bad girl humor and stuff like that. She had a lot of, she had a great personality and stuff. She also has a boat that you end up getting on with her and stuff, and, it's just amazing what happens and stuff and all that in this game. But anyway, you get on the boat and you start traveling to the island that is known for Hugo's bird to be there in the pond and everything. And also, I completed the chapter on that as well. And then when you make your way to the island, Hugo's welcomed and everything. So they just welcome you with open arms and stuff like that. And then you go explore a little bit and stuff. And the other thing also is that you also have to discover these phoenix bird statues around the island as well. So not only that you explore the island and everything, but you also have to find these statues. They're pointed in different ways and stuff like that, so that's pretty much how it starts. And for this part right here, in one of the areas, there's this like game that you can play and stuff in order to get a trophy. So what you gotta do is you gotta throw these vases through these reefs, and pretty simple to do. I didn't know. I thought I missed that last one, but it ended up popping the trophy and all that. So right after you do get the trophy, you also get a souvenir and stuff called well, what it shows on the screen. And then later on in the chapter, you meet the Count and Countess, which I really did not like in the game. They were very psycho, and I'll explain the reason why in a while. But anyway, they welcome you with open arms and invite you to stay at their estate and stuff like that. In the process, though, Aldern is also getting captured by him as well, tortured, beaten, you name it, and eventually you have to rescue him. But anyway, at the end of the chapter, you and Amicia and Hugo end up in this beautiful room at their estate, and that's the end of chapter 8 right there. And then in this part, after leaving the estate and stuff to go explore, you, Sophia, and Hugo have to look for these statues. But there's this one area that you do have to explore at, and and as you guys see here, I'm around these windmills, and you have to like activate one of them and turn off two of them and stuff like that in order to open up this secret entrance to this like cave area. And when you travel inside of it, there's this like object that you can have Amicia equip onto herself. It's a wristlet, and what it does is it causes Amicia to recover faster when she gets knocked down and stuff. So, like when you get knocked down by an enemy, it takes a few moments for you to get back up, but this actually reduces the amount of time that you can actually get up and stuff. So that's always a good thing. However, I did have a little trouble trying to get this secret area open, only because number one, the area that you have to open up is like a hidden little gate, and you have to open it by those windmills. So if you do them in the right way, then the area opens up and you travel into this like cave area and stuff like that, and then you see a big chest where it has lots of materials, and right next to it is this wristlet that Amicia can equip on herself. So that's what happens afterwards. And then later on, I ended up having to restart this chapter because number one, I missed out on a knife, and I had to get a knife in order to open up this secret workshop cabinet. That's what I'm gonna call it. A cabinet and stuff. So you got to open up these in order to get another trophy and everything. And you can also use it to upgrade and stuff. And it also has materials inside and sometimes crossbow ammo. But anyway, I ended up fully upgrading my instruments, and I got the trophy for doing that. So maybe not this segment of the video that I'll get the trophy, but this segment right here is actually where I got the trophy to get the instruments trophy unlocked. So I ended up getting that done as well. So right after I got that trophy, that's where I made my way to the mountain, and the mountain part is where you actually, still in chapter 9, you run into this area where the count and countess is doing a ritual, and Hugo's and Amicia are disguised as ritual members, which this part right here kind of freaked me out in a way. I'll explain why in just a moment. But anyway, they give you the torch. You gotta walk through a waterfall to the other side and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where things do get a little creepy from there. And then you, Amicia, and Hugo ends up leaving the area, and you make your way to this other area, this next area right here, and you got to find 16 items that has to do with this child that used to be alive in the game 1,000 years earlier and stuff. I think he was known to be I think he was called the One or something like that. Anyway, there's this like little boy and stuff like that, and you discover his room. You discover his. I think he had a sister as well that lived right next to him, and all that, or something like that. And then right afterwards, that's pretty much it, and you get a trophy for that as well. But anyway, this next part right here is, yeah, you discover this throne right outside of the garden where the little boy 1,000 years ago would have sat at. And Hugo, he was just discovering this water and stuff like that. And when he was touching it, it wasn't healing him at all. And he even discovers that the phoenix bird that he dreamed about, it had to do with that ritual. So it really wasn't a real bird, and there was no pond where he can get cured. So that was pretty sad right there. But anyway, after finding my 16th item and stuff like that, I ended up getting a trophy. And yeah, I was actually pretty happy about that, called O Protector. And then right afterwards, me, Sophia, and Hugo, after we crawled out of a sewer and stuff, Hugo's like, "Can we please change clothes now?" And right afterwards, I ended up getting a trophy for completing chapter 9. Now, in chapter 10, however, This one was pretty intense. Like one segment where I had to battle all these like guys and stuff like that, these bad guys in this area and stuff like that. There were so many of them everywhere. And then and then this part right here, Hugo activates his powers and stuff like that to defend him and Amicia and stuff like that. But then Amicia tries to snap him out of using his powers and stuff. But unfortunately, it kind of scared Sophia a little bit. And Amicia was going to tell Sophia, but then forgot to tell her. And then Sophia's like, "What the hell was that?" And she was like, "Why in the hell didn't you tell me?" and stuff like that. So they end up getting on a boat, and then they get going out of there, and then that was the end of chapter 8. Chapter 11, there was this like area where I had to do this puzzle. I had to do a few puzzles in this. This chapter, I was actually happy to get over with. Because you got to do a couple of puzzles. One is by moving these like carts around with the flames on them, and then all I had to do next was cross the bridge and everything. And this took me I'm going to say about 10 minutes to figure this out because most of it was not easy to figure out. And right after I made my way across the bridge and stuff, I was about home free, and I was home free actually, and another trophy for completing the chapter and everything and stuff. And before that, though, I had to make my way to these double doors and stuff, and a cutscene happened and everything, and again had to do another puzzle, and then Amicia and Hugo and Sophia discovers that the little boy from 1,000 years ago was chained up and killed, and sadly, it was a pretty sad moment for Hugo because he said it was not fair and everything. And right afterwards, rats started appearing everywhere, and we had to run. We really had to escape from the area and stuff like that. Rats were closing in everywhere, and on this part, we literally had to make our escape. All three of us did, and then I nearly died twice, but made it out, and yeah, that was the end of that chapter, and whew, talk about intense moments in this game. There was a few like moments where you do get chased by them, but and then there's like these moments where the camera is like in front of you, and I really did like that. And that was the end of that chapter and stuff. But then this next part, you immediately reunite with your mom and also Lucas and everything. They stay in the room that you meet them up in, and the Count wants to talk to you, so you go up to his room and stuff, and you walk around with him and stuff, and then eventually he pushes you down the stairs, chases you around, and then you make your way outside, where you discover that Beatrice is being held as a sacrifice. So what happens next is pretty disturbing. And I was actually really, really mad about this part. And I could not wait until the Countess ended up getting killed. Only because of that. But she ends up sacrificing Beatrice by slitting her throat. And that was so uncalled for. And it really made Hugo angry. And it brought out the true self in him. Like he was literally killing all the rats and stuff. He was literally using all the rats, not killing the rats, but using all the rats to kill the enemies and stuff like that. And no matter what Hugo did, he had to protect himself and Amicia and stuff like that. And then, and Sophia as well. I forgot that. And Lucas and so on. And eventually, the part where you have to use the rats to kill the Countess, um, that was, that made the Count very, very angry at me. And Hugo passes out from all that. And yeah, so right afterwards, the cutscene plays and another chapter's over with. So chapter 13's over with. Now, chapter 12's over with, but in chapter 13, I ended up finding my last souvenir in the game, so I was pretty happy with that as well. So you do have to collect all the souvenirs in the game. Some of them you have to collect by playing the mini games, as I mentioned earlier. But I ended up getting one of the trophies for that, and then another trophy that you also have to get as well is you also have to get a trophy where you use extinguish on 100 enemies by taking out their torch and stuff. So you do that to enemies and you got the trophy for that. Another trophy is for collecting all the feathers and the flowers in the game. So I ended up getting the last feather that I needed for the trophy. And then there was another trophy that I also got on top of that where I discovered the last secret workshop cabinet. And I had to make sure I had a knife with me or else I was going to miss out on this trophy. So I got the trophy for Explorer, and that was a good one right there. And then on top of that, while still at that cabinet and everything, I ended up getting my alchemy maximized and got the trophy for that as well. So Pocket Laboratory, I ended up getting on the same part right there. On top of that, on right before the end of it, I had to defend Hugo and myself, and also Audern or Auburn. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I had to defend him as well and save him. And then we made our way to the boat, and then we quickly got out of that island and stuff, and then that was it. So yeah, right after this cutscene right here was very emotional. That Hugo, he was upset that his mother was dead, and that she was the only one that can help him find a cure and stuff. So right after that cutscene was over, uh, the chapter trophy popped up. And then I ended up getting injured and stuff in chapter 14, so he ended up saving me and stuff. And then another trophy pops up for me as well for completing that chapter. And so we were off at chapter 15 now. And on this part right here, you have to go up against the Count. And this was actually a pretty easy fight right here. So I ended up hitting him with my sling, and he died instantly. That was a pretty good shot, honestly, right there. So I ended up hitting him, but he ended up injuring Aldern or Auburn. I'm just going to call him. And he ended up dying from his injury. So yeah, so that was a pretty sad part right there. He ended up saving us, but he also sacrificed himself to save us as well. So Sophia came up to him and stuff, and you know, she sort of called him her friend and everything. And so right at the end, towards the end of the chapter, we ended up making our way to find Hugo. So first thing we found was there was this cart and horses, and of course there was a turret where you can actually fire. You can fire and stuff like that, and it actually has fire in it, a fire turret. So what we had to do was we had to make our way to Hugo, and of course, avoid these rats coming up behind us. So we had to use the turret and everything, and Hugo was controlling the rats, and he wasn't himself and everything. So that's pretty much what I had to do on this part. And then me and Lucas, we had to avoid another area on the next part. So I'll explain that in a minute. But right afterwards, ended up completing chapter 16 or 15. I meant to say 15, guys. My apologies. So right after the cutscene here, ended up completing chapter 15, which was one of my favorite chapters, honestly. Now in chapter 16, me and Lucas had to avoid these rats that were like swarming like waves and everything. And Sophia ended up breaking her leg. I ended up finding the last few materials that I needed to get one of the last upgrades that I needed, and one of them that I ended up saving my materials until later, and the only reason why was I didn't have enough actually to get the upgrades that I needed, the materials enough for them. So I just waited till the next uh, playthrough, which was New Game Plus. And then I discovered the last flower for Herbalist, and then I got I got a trophy for that as well. And you know, I really did enjoy this game altogether, and I thought it was really fun looking for these collectibles. There's not a whole lot to look for. If you guys need a guide, check out PowerPix's guide and stuff, and it will show all the locations of flowers and stuff. So anyway, on this part, there's a herd of rats that come swarming in on the left and right side. You gotta avoid them by running to the buildings, staying there, and then avoiding them over and over again. And then you discover that Hugo's on the other side, and then you have to eliminate him by either your sling or giving the crossbow to Lucas, and then he'll end up killing him. So right after that, the credits rolled, and I got my one trophy for completing chapter 16, which was King Hugo, and then I got another trophy for completing chapter 17, which is a bonus chapter, and I got this one, which was called, of course, it was called Knights. So that's one I got right there. So the next part, I started New Game Plus on, and there were still like maybe 6 trophies that I needed to get. So one of the trophies I ended up getting was where I got all of the aggressive skills, which was combat skills. Another trophy I ended up getting was for the gear upgraded fully, which was called Handful of Pockets, of course. Another trophy was where I ended up getting the next trophy, which was called Malignant, and I ended up getting the maximized amount of skills done and everything. I think that was for the opportunism one. And then, last but not least, the next trophy that I ended up getting was, of course, for getting the stealth ones done. So anyway, guys, I ended up getting a platinum afterwards. So anyway, I wanted to say thank you for tuning in my video. Be sure to like, subscribe for more upcoming videos. I'm Sierra, and thank you for tuning in to Red TV Plays. Bye, everyone.